We've made the 200-mile journey to Croft Circuit in North Yorkshire for the final meeting of the inaugural City Car Cup calendar. Storm Aidan has arrived in earnest and it's absolutely blowing a gale, much like it was in Anglesey, so we're used to it. In a not unusual development, Nick's lying down on the job. We haven't the luxury of a garage here at Croft, so we're in the paddock out in the elements, protected only by our 6x3 metre gazebo. And in this wind, it's firmly tied down to the trailer and the van. If only we had some sort of crazy 7.5 ton support vehicle or something. We spent the previous afternoon testing here, and the conditions were damp but drying and without a breath of wind. Today could be a mite more challenging. Testing had gone really well and we felt in very good shape, despite being politely asked by the organisers to remove all the brackets and braces and amendments we'd fitted for Silverstone. We're not the first team to expend a load of time and effort developing and making something, only to have it banned at the very next race, but truthfully, we're not sure that any of it had a positive effect, and we're convinced after testing yesterday that some of it was detrimental to our speed. Well, it's all gone.
Okay. Here again. He is here again. It's like he follows us around a bit, doesn't it? It's like, yeah, very good.
You'd have to put the right lens on, wouldn't it?
What lens have you got on?
The wrong one.
Okay, good.
I'll change it later once you go out for practice and get some other shots.
It's not as if we pay you for this.
No. The packet of peanuts goes a long way.
I love nuts. I suppose when you pay peanuts you get monkeys. Yeah. Oh, that's borderline.
I feel a court case coming.
I do too.
Give me a sec, I'm going to call my lawyer.
We may have had to remove all our additional parts, but that still left us with a few things to play with, like tyres and tyre pressures.
The track conditions are like we started yesterday. We went up as it got drier. So I'm thinking coming back down to where we started yesterday.
As long as you don't go any lower, you know what it's going to do.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I was actually quite. Did we start? What did we start?
Did we actually? I didn't.
We did. We started 38.43.
Did we get any quicker with the tyre pressures?
We only went up at the very last session.
Yeah, but did we go any quicker?
Hard to say because we never got. But we came back down again. We came back down again before, and I never got a chance to really try it. So I'm not sure. I think it was quicker, higher in the dry. But this was fast on those tyres in the lower pressures, like this.
So stop it.
So I'm going to go down. Yeah.
Me, that was a long way around.
Doesn't matter as long as you get there.
We had the honour of being joined by Jim Cameron along with Linda and Jack from the Armed Forces charity Mission Motorsport, who'd come along to support us and get their hands dirty. They weren't aware at this point just how dirty their hands would get.
I haven't said hello yet.
Sorry.
I'm Jim. Here,
Nice
there you
to
go.
meet
Have
you,
an
mate.
elbow or whatever. It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you.
On the card with us today were the Fiesta Championship, the Fiesta Juniors and the Club Sport Trophy. However, the format is very different to the first two races. For a start, we only have 15 minutes to qualify, not 20. And also, we have our own 15-minute race. We're not mixed in with any other class this time, we're on our own. And then to top it all off, we have a second 15-minute race after lunch with the grid positions being determined by our finishing position in race 1. Don't mess with Lindsay when she tells you it's time to go.
How you feeling?
Great.
Yeah?
Even better now I found my balaclava.
Indeed.
In anticipation of a wet race here in the northeast, we bought a new set of wheels and tyres. But with little standing water, I'd opted to use the worn ones in qualifying.
There's a lot of spray. I'm wondering whether we've made the right choice for the tyre.
Linda and Jack had kindly wiped the car down to keep the drag to a minimum, and it was time to head off to the assembly area ready for qualifying.
Hey?
The top three would be nice, but no pressure.
Oh, I'll just go as fast as I can, mate.
That's a good plan.
It'll be what it is.
My plan in qualifying was simple. Use the first lap to find myself a load of space on track, test out the grip levels comparing it to yesterday's test sessions, and then get the hammer down and go as fast as I possibly could. Croft is a fantastic circuit to drive. The recently resurfaced track is smooth and grippy, and there's some really fast and challenging corners, even with only 68 horsepower. I let Steve go and continued trying to get myself a gap on this 2.12 mile circuit, which as it turns out was considerably more difficult than I'd anticipated. Dodging yellow flags, catching cars at the wrong points on the track, and battling my own mistakes meant that I only had one lap left to put a half decent time in. And here's my fastest lap of qualifying. All the cars are equal in terms of their components, but there's still room for some setup work within the rules. We'd retained our setup from Silverstone, which meant we had a car that was fast in a straight line, but that left me having to finesse it through the corners to avoid throwing it off. I'm comfortable with the car moving around underneath me, so we figured we'd play to our strengths here at Croft. Balked at Tower Corner and scruffy in places, I knew I'd left a heap of time on the track, but I also knew that qualifying has never really been my strong point.
Here she comes. Oh.
This final lap started very well indeed, but someone binned it at the complex and I had to slow down, so that was that.
How'd you get on?
I never felt as though I hooked it up. I tried to be clever, try and give myself space, but I was so much quicker than the guy ahead of me. It didn't matter how much space I gave him, I caught him on the following lap. So I thought, sorry, I'll pass him, passed the two and got a really good clear run, and then double waved yellows going into the complex on my last flying lap. Disaster.
We'd been out-qualified by Steve by 400ths, and by Nick by a second. Not what I'd hoped for, but kind of what I'd expected given my mistakes.
But I had the second. The second's in the car.
Yeah.
If it stays like this, we'll go up.
What are we gonna get?
But if it's
It's gonna get wet.
It's going to get wet, which I think we're going to go on the other tyres. But yeah, car felt good. Car felt good.
We'd barely had enough time to grab a brew and a biscuit before being called to the assembly area for race 1. The organisers were determined to stay ahead of the schedule and finish before dusk. The short notice left Ben somewhat surprised, scrabbling to keep up.
Well, no one told me you were going. Jesus. Trying to start different lenses, not happening. Too wet. I'm trying to operate 2 cameras.
He's such a big girl's blouse at times. Well, all the time actually. But he can hang to a camera, so we keep him around. Lindsay walks round making sure we've all pulled the pin in our fire extinguisher and that the memory cards are in our cameras.
Cameras?
Sorry, did you say?
Does it mean I've got to get in the car?
We don't need the weight, mate, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I do.
If you were any good as the Lucky Tom, I'd let you ride, but...
Conditions, if anything, were deteriorating, but there was little, if any, standing water, so I was hoping that sticking with my well-worn tyres would be the right call. After the track crew had recovered a couple of cars from the scenery, it was time for us to go to the grid. I don't do a lot of weaving about to warm the tyres. I've never felt it does much, if anything. But what it can do, though, is make you look a bit of a numpty if you spin off. Nick recovered from his embarrassment and duly led us round to our starting positions on the grid, ready for the start of race 1. I'd had a pretty good start and survived the first few corners unscathed, which in one-make racing is never certain. But I had Nick up ahead and Steve lurking behind me ready to pounce. These first few laps were going to be crucial to the outcome of the race. I was maybe a bit cautious going into the left-hander of the complex, and that let Nick gain a couple of car lengths, but more importantly, it let Steve get right on my bumper. That was a good pass, but I knew my straight line speed was better than Steve, so I just dragged up behind him and blew by him on the straight. The trade-off for having less straight line speed was that Steve's mid-corner grip was much better than mine, and he used it to take a swipe down the right-hand side of my car and to whip the wing mirror off. But I wasn't having any of that, and I held on round the outside into the chicane. Let's take another look at that, but from Steve's perspective. There goes both our wing mirrors. Rubbing's racing, as they say, and it would have been an act of purest optimism to have expected to get through these races without the odd battle scar, so I wasn't too worried about it. What concerned me more was that while Steve was taking chunks out of my Citroen, Nick was getting away in front of us. We needed to work together for a while to catch Nick and do battle for the last few laps. This section of the track is awesome. It's flat through the Jim Clark S's, deep breath and then flat through Barcroft and brake hard for Sunny Inn. It's the feeling you get when you're teetering on the edge of grip through these fast corners that you just can't replicate in sim racing. I got my head down and was determined to catch Nick and make a race of it towards the end. I just needed to concentrate, hit my marks, and I knew I had the pace to reel him in. With a bit of luck, Steve would work with me in order to catch the leader. What you need when you're racing is a rhythm, like clockwork. You'd need to hit all your braking points and hit all your turning marks. What you don't need is... On the previous lap, Steve had sliced the mirror off my door, so I had no idea he was there. I was concentrating on going forward. Let's see it from on board the other protagonist. I couldn't tell how much, if any, damage my car had sustained, but I had a hell of a vibration from the right rear. So I figured it would be best to bring it back to the pits and retire from the race. At this time, I didn't actually know what had happened. I didn't see Steve at all, and it felt like the rear of the car had just exploded.
You've been dropped, did he?
I don't know.
Once a rally driver, always a bloody rally driver.
Nick's the tree dodger. I just sit next to him shouting instructions.
You made a bracket to put this on.
Nothing's moving up there, mate.
Alright, the rim's not bent, the hub's not hanging off. The damper's still in one piece. There's nothing mechanically wrong, mate.
Oh, you've got a worm. Oh, a little worm.
Is this,
It's incredibly
what
lifelike.
scale is this to?
This is the
Very
actual amount
lifelike,
of land we've taken.
It was the mirror might have helped me at that point because I didn't know he was there. I couldn't see him because he'd taken the mirror off the lap before. It's a non-contact sport, apparently. We've got a lot of work to do in race 2 because I got to start the back because it's crew positions, your finishing positions for the first race. So now I got to start 15th.
Okay, so there's no damage, it's just mud. What's
Well, there's a bit of the wing mirror's hanging off it. There's dents down the side. There's mud. I mean, there's probably 4 kilos of mud. We picked up worms, some sort of, I don't know, all sorts of stuff in there. There's grass. There's all sorts of shit.
You're gonna get penalised for having worms on board, are you?
No, but I don't want to carry the weight. They get motion sickness.
Nick had decided not to break out the tank tape and to try gluing the mirror back on instead.
Q-Bond, breakfast of champions.
You've not stuck your hand to it, have you, Nick?
Shit, I was waiting for you to go with the camera before I tried to take my glove off.
So apart from adding a few more dents and scratches along with a broken wing mirror, the car was absolutely fine and it needed nothing more than a bloody good wash. While our team of willing helpers got on with hosing the car down, I was summoned to the clock of the course along with Steve for what's commonly known as a bollocking. Steve and I were asked to watch the onboards back, and Andy Holly, the clerk of the course, told us both firmly where we'd gone wrong. We both agreed they were racing incidents. We shook hands and wandered off for a Twix. We weren't the only ones to have an off in race 1. Greg's car was looking particularly second-hand after he ran out of talent at turn 1. But the torrential downpour left me thinking that the newer tyres might save me from a similar fate in the second race.
So he's going on to wets then, or what?
Well, they're not really wet, they're the same tyres, they're just not worn out.
Brilliant.
They've just got more tread. But they're also a kilo a piece heavier.
What's the strategy from here then? You starting at the back?
Yeah, we're starting on the last row. So we're starting 4th to 13th or 4th to 13th? We're starting 13th.
So you just can extend it?
Yeah, oh hell yeah, yeah. There's no, just gotta go forward. Just gotta go forward. There's no other way around it. We've got a quick car. So we should be able to get up to somewhere, as long as I don't get binned off again. I can't take my time. It's only 15 minutes, so we get like 7 laps of this sort of, like, at the most. So I've got to pick my spots and try and get past as quick as I possibly can. Use the straight line speed that we've got, and just get it done. Let's see how far forward we can get.
The rain had cleared, but the wind remained, and Lindsay was stalking the paddock once more, making sure we were all ready on time.
Gloves, balaclava, spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch.
You driving down there first?
Before I put this on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was time to go down to the assembly area for the final time in 2020. Given what's been going on this year, it's testament to the hard work and dedication of the motorsport community here in the UK that we've had any racing at all. So I was feeling grateful and lucky to be heading out for my last race of the season.
So what's happened to your overalls anyway?
I did.
The infield happened to my overalls.
The rallycross circuit.
The 25 kilos of we pulled out from under the car is what happened to my overalls.
You think the next race, let's get a driver in? You think?
I'm looking for a slightly newer, lighter model, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It didn't matter how much grief I was getting from those clowns, I was relaxed and comfortable knowing that I literally couldn't go any further back down the grid. And with the sun setting ever lower in the sky, my sole focus was going forwards. While we were all waiting to go on our formation lap, Nick was gesticulating to a car in the queue ahead of me.
Can't see.
What he was pointing at was Nick Grindrod's car on pole. The bonnet was up and Nick was out of the car. It wouldn't start.
Hey?
Now that was a turn up for the +4s. Yep, he'd broken down and wasn't going anywhere. What a shame for Nick. We rolled around to the grid, and after 2 cars had to be withdrawn, I took up my place on the outside of row 6, ready for the start. Due to circumstances beyond their control, this meeting is the first time the City Car Cup is being run as the organisers intended. Double-header races on their own grid without the distraction of a different class. And it's fantastic to see all these cars giving it large around this terrific circuit. 2021 promises to be an exciting year for the series. That was by far the best start I'd made in this car, and I managed to make my way up to 5th place halfway around the first lap. The closer to the front I got, the harder it was going to be to make up places, but I felt good, so I kept the hammer down. Just a little way behind me though, Paul Savage was about to give those marshals a little excitement on this wet and windy afternoon. Just running very slightly wide at the exit of Sunny Out put his left side off the curb. The back end came round and he speared across the track onto the infield. The car dug in and flipped over. Thankfully, Paul was completely unharmed. His pride and his wallet, however. The crash had put us under safety car conditions while the marshals got Paul over the Armco barrier and on his way to the medical centre. As I watched the cars in front weave around for no apparent reason, Liam Browning was like a cat on a hot tin roof behind me, urging me to keep up with the train in front. I knew we weren't going green until at least the end of this lap, so to wind him up, I dropped back even further. The marshals, as usual, did a great job, and in double quick time, the lights on the safety car had gone out and it was away. I guess Liam was too preoccupied with what others were doing to notice, so as we accelerated away, I had a massive gap behind me so I could concentrate on attacking rather than defending. can see how that one little lift, as I gave Andrew Schofield the room, cost me huge amounts of time going down into Barcroft towards Sunny Inn. I decided at that point to pick my passes carefully and make them decisive. A lap and a half later and I thought I'd figured out the best place to attack. I was taking gobs of time out of him on the brakes into Tower Corner, so I lined it up, licked the stamp and sent it. We were up to 4th now, and I only had a slack handful of laps left to try and get on the podium, so that was the carrot dangling before me as I chased after Tim Evans. A lap later, and the 5-car train steamed its way down into turn 1 to start the penultimate lap of the race. Time was running out to get on the podium, but then Tim did exactly what I'd sworn to myself I wouldn't do. He made a half-hearted attempt to get down the inside of Paul Tompkins for second. Contact was inevitable, and Paul got unceremoniously dumped into the kitty litter. And that meant I was up to 3rd, which was nice. Tim had lost a bit of momentum and I sniffed a chance of getting up to 2nd, so I lined him up for my preferred pass on the brakes into Tower Corner. Let's take another look at that from outside. I figured I got that pass done, but Tim was not going to give up second without a fight, and side by side going into the Jim Clark S's we made contact. However, I got the pass completed, but with only a lap and a half to go, Steve was going to be too far up the road to catch. But I gave it a shot. Coming through the complex for the final time, I'd done my best to catch Steve and I'd put in the fastest lap of the race, but it was all in vain. Not even a half spin from the leader coming out of the final hairpin was enough. I imagine it was squeaky bum time in Laidlaw's seat as he almost threw it away. I took the checkered flag in 2nd place, and despite once again being first loser, I was very happy with the way the race had gone. That was a lot of fun.
I will double check with
What the... Again.
Yeah, man.
What a drive.
That was alright, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was fun.
10th to
That was
2nd.
proper fun. Yeah. Was it 10th or
I think you were starting 10th.
14th? I don't know where I started. Left hand side. Yeah, probably 10th. No, 12th because there was one in front of me that wasn't there. Good start. Good first lap. Just let it happen in front of me.
It did happen in front of you,
It's all
didn't
good.
it? Oh my goodness. Can't believe it.
Yeah, man. No, I'm chuffed with that. That worked out pretty much exactly to plan.
You boy
would have
done
won
good.
that. You would have won that with the other tyres.
Go, mate. There's no way I could have done the passes that I did on those tyres, mate. That was fun. That was fun.
It was tense.
That was fun.
That looked like single race, mate racing too good.
That was what it was all about. Nose to tail, no quarter ass, no quarter given. There's a bump up the left-hand side of my car. Tim didn't like the fact I'd gone down the inside at Tower, and then just gave me a little nudge going to the next left-hander. But it's all good. It's all good. There she is.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
Second and a first and a second.
And another cap.
And another cap to go with my other one. I got twin caps. I'm going to give them to the girls.
So, Rich, what's next?
Well, we're going to pack up, get the awning down in this gale, and then go home, have a bath.
We still had to pass scrutineering, and a time penalty for Tim meant that the podium consisted of Steve, me and Andrew. And I took fastest lap.
Fastest lap of the race, yeah. 2nd place from 10th. You can probably be quite happy with that. He'll be unbearable. He'll be unbearable now.
Luckily,
This is the worst
I
thing.
don't have to share a vehicle home with him.
The worst possible outcome. He's
The
going
thing
to be
is,
a pain in the backside later.
Everybody in the world knows the driver's just the meat sack holding the steering wheel. The speed of the car generally is in the front.
It's the fleshy gasket between the steering wheel and the seat.
It's
that
the
you struggle
only
with.
fallible part of the mechanism.
That fallible part got you another trophy, Blacker, so quit your moaning and let's get packed up. Jim, Linda and Jack from Mission Motorsport couldn't have been more helpful and supportive, and it was a pleasure to have them along. The BRSCC did an amazing job getting us on track, so thank you for your hard work. We hope we've done our bit to make the City Car Cup the success it deserves to be. Join us next week for a very special final part of the series.